4 brand new boxes in. So if anyone out there is looking to earn one, you know how to earn one. For example, I got an email earlier today from a kid who was in his dorm, which is up like 4 or 5 floors off the ground, and he's put subscribe to the channel in his window where the entire world can see. Chalice of Supremacy headed to that kid. So with that, we're jam-packed. We're high atop a tranquil downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Storms moved through a little while ago. Beautiful sunset. It's almost like everyone knows. The calm before the storm being week 4, and we've got to predict it tonight. So we've got game predictions. It's always a big prediction Tuesday. But also, we've got a freshly updated JP poll to drop on you tonight, which comes 48 hours before the commissioner's poll drops on Thursday. Dabo Swinney just had himself a Hall of Fame press conference today. I'm talking about an all-timer. You could be a fine connoisseur of press conferences, press conference, and you've rarely seen one. You've rarely seen a guy get this wound up. He gave, what was it, Jesse, like a 13-and-a-half-minute answer on perhaps the most innocuous question of the entire press conference. We got that. We got a rare 4 added best bets on the Ramen Noodle Express tonight. There's a lot of value out there. At least one of the games we break down is going to be a best bet. Perhaps a game I'm going to be at this Saturday. Yeah, we got a jam-packed show. We have no time to waste. They're watching us in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Gardner, Kansas, Richmond, Virginia, Meridian, Mississippi. We do have a mild to moderate conundrum on our hands, and that is, well, number one, I feel like I have to sneeze. That's not the conundrum. That's just life. No, the conundrum is, as I was walking into the gym today, popped in some Trident, started chewing, and instead of the gum, I hit my tongue. The back side of it, Jesse, not even the front of it. So I feel bad. I feel like I sound bad. I feel like my tongue is between my teeth. It's not a great feeling. So, Lane Kiffin would not update my injury status. I am updating it for you. I'm very questionable for this show, but here I am. It's a good song by Pate Loveless, by the way. Here I am. Okay, you want bravery? You want to start the show with bravery tonight? Here's your endpoint, Bradley. One of the braver things that anyone will have ever done on this show or any show is revisit their quarterback rankings this early in the season. But as you know, or should know by now, it's gone sideways quickly for me and pretty much everyone else who put out quarterback rankings. I don't really think anyone put out rankings out there in the SEC that had Arch and Lagway and Sellers outside the top 10. Yet that very well could be the top 10 right now in the SEC. So what I wanted to do, because people have been ragging me about this, and truthfully, I deserve it, is I wanted to remind you that going into the season, I did release my preseason SEC quarterback rankings. I was fairly confident, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, solid 6 3/4 confident, that this would at least somewhat resemble what the conference was going to look like this year. Famously, at this point, it's only been 3 weeks, famously, I had DJ Lagway number 1. Yes, Prince Lagway. I bought all the stock. And then I had Arch number 2, and honestly, we weren't even hyping him up like most people were. I thought we were tame on Arch. But I did think there was this baseline. It's Steve Sarkisian. It's Arch Manning. It's Texas talent. Like, there's a pretty high floor here, is there not? Yeah, holes in the floor, man. I had Lenore Sellers number 3. And people were hating. You remember now, if you watched the segment, you remember people were banging on me a little bit for not having Sellers higher, not having Nussmeier higher. We'll get to him. He's got a little injury situation. I also took a fair amount of criticism that everyone's already deleted for having John Mateer as high as I did. The audacity of having unproven John Mateer. Look at that sidearm release. Look at the quality of competition he's faced. Fifth, whomst do you think you are? They asked me. So it was Austin Simmons, Jackson Arnold, Taylor Green, Marcel Reed, Diego Pavia. I didn't have Gunnar Stockton in there because we hadn't seen him play. I hadn't put Ty Simpson in there because we hadn't seen him play. Now, we hadn't seen Arch play really either. I just thought Arch would be better than them, obviously. So it's time to revisit. And I'm not going to do the whole random order thing. I'm just going to tell you my new number 1 quarterback in the SEC, updated rankings as of tonight. Yeah, it's John Mateer. I regret not putting him higher in my preseason. I did pick him to win the Heisman, after all, but even I wanted him to earn it a little bit. Well, he has earned it. We were there on location in living color for the Michigan game. And we won't be there for the Auburn game, but they got Auburn this weekend. Everything they could have hoped that he was going to be, at least in the first portion of the season. Remember, this was supposed to be when they were sort of feeling each other out. He was new to the program, but he brought his coordinator with him, and it's been great. It's been wonderful, and to their credit, they put good receiving talent around him. So I got him number 1. I don't even think that's controversial at this point. But who would you put number 2 in the league right now? Because I'm going to Fayetteville, Arkansas. The season hasn't gotten off to such a hot start, but Taylon Green has. You pop on the Ole Miss tape. Forget tape. Just go watch the broadcast. I don't care. Go watch it from the blimp. He is incredible. And right now, I'm looking at them, and they're going to Memphis, and I'm terrified for that game this weekend, by the way. They're in a letdown spot. They're in a look-ahead spot. It's Memphis' Super Bowl. Silverfield's up there talking about Georgia's arrest record. I have no idea what's happening with that game. But this dude's been balling out. So Taylon Green, number 2 on the SEC quarterback rankings right now. And then I got to put Joey Aguilar, number 3. This is the most surprising result maybe in the league so far, in a sense that I just didn't think it was possible for him to look good like this quick. I didn't think the offense could click this good this quickly. And I am someone who has all the confidence in the world in Josh Heupel, but they just went toe-to-toe with Georgia and lost to Georgia. They lost hanging 38 in regulation, so offense didn't lose it. Joey Aguilar didn't lose it. 66% completion percentage guy so far, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's been incredible. And, I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but I certainly don't think he's going to regress as the season goes on. You know who I got number 4 is Bo Prabula. You know, there are healthy conversations going on right now. Scratch that. They're very unhealthy. From a mental standpoint, it's very unhealthy to be having this discussion, but I've got it on good authority that some of our friends up in Pennsylvania have been observing what Bo Prabula has been doing at Missouri and have been observing what Drew Aller is still struggling to do at Penn State and saying, wow, did we keep the wrong guy? Now, that's unfair. It's very unfair because Penn State hasn't had to open up the playbook, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. You know how that goes. That it's even a conversation speaks to how good the fit is between Prabula and Eli Drinkwitz and that entire offensive system there. Remember, he gave up play calling before last year, I think it was, and they have soared since then. Was Eli Drinkwitz holding Missouri football back? Probably not. I just want the clip in there because it will make its way to him. He's been a perfect fit there. He's been really incredible. That Kansas game's probably the highest profile game he's played so far. They've got South Carolina this weekend, so it really ramps up for him. He's been good. Gunnar Stockton, I think number 5 is a good spot for him. First 2 games Georgia played very obviously weren't going to be like the Tennessee game. And they weren't. And he wasn't. And in retrospect, it's probably a good thing that the offense looked like it did against Austin Peay. And then the biggest shock in the world, Georgia played at a little bit different level against Tennessee than they did Austin Peay. So did Gunnar Stockton. And any lingering question I had about him was answered. Now, in retrospect, it's always fun to say, oh, you doubted him. Yeah, I sure did. I didn't doubt that. Well, I did. I flat out doubted him. Okay, so Gunnar Stockton proved me wrong. So far, Gunnar Stockton proved me wrong. I didn't think he'd play at that level. Against Tennessee, I didn't think he'd play at that level all year. And he did. So he proved me wrong, and there he is, number 5, and climbing. Green arrow next to his name. Marcel Reed, number 6. Do we think that's fair? 17 of 37 the other day for like 1 billion yards against Notre Dame. I think that vertical passing game, check. We were right. The reports we heard out of College Station, those were right in the preseason. And that dude's playing at a level where if I'm getting the downfield passing threat, and I think I know they can run the ball to win a game eventually. I mean, if we're once again making defense the big question for Texas A&M, and I know I got high-level quarterback play, I mean, still some mistakes here and there, some overthrows, accuracy issues, I'll take it. Let me just put it that way. If that's what I'm going to get from Marcel Reed, I'll take it. I got him, number 6. I got Diego Pavia, number 7. There were rumors today he may be seeking a 7th year of eligibility. He put the cap emoji out there. Bradley will tell you as well as I will. That means it's not happening. Diego Pavia, though, just leading a football team, not carrying a football team. It's important to note, Nashville's football team is more than one person, but one person is the face of that team, and that is Diego Pavia. I would put Ty Simpson number 8. So the Florida State game, very shaky for that entire organization. Him as a quarterback, very shaky. He's looked really good since then. One of those games was UL Monroe. One of those games was Wisconsin. And you're probably thinking the same thing I am, and that is, well, what happens when they go on the road again against quality competition? You're in luck. They go to Georgia next week. So we'll find out. I mean, Ty Simpson, when given time, very good. Will he be given time? When he's not, I'll tell you this, though, when he's not given time, I mean, he's thrown some balls under pressure the past couple of games, especially that Wisconsin game, that looked really good. So again, I sound a little pessimistic with Alabama only because I told you I was going to be. And I guess Ty Simpson just suffers from that as it relates to this show. This is my preseason national championship pick. They're just going to get held to a higher standard here. And when you let me down like they did in week 1, you've got to earn the trust back. Ty Simpson back on the road next week. That team will probably go as he goes next week. Earn the trust back. All due respect to Luke Fickell, that does not happen against Wisconsin. Garrett Nussmeier, number 9. Now you'll notice Brian Kelly, I think today, confirmed he's been dealing with, Jesse, how did they phrase it? Was it like a torso injury? They said, so, I mean, full disclosure, this was not a huge mystery, or I guess it wasn't breaking news. This was kind of whispered about behind the scenes. I think some people said elbow. I didn't hear elbow. I heard exactly what Brian Kelly said today. That's why I treated the Clemson outcome like I did. Because I knew good and well they went on the road with a hurt quarterback and still beat Clemson. And now they've confirmed it. I'm not a newsbreaker per se. It's not really the business I'm in. But yeah, he's been playing hurt. He's been playing limited. Let me just put it that way. Been playing limited. I've got him at 9 because given his limitation, I think he's done what he needs to do. I think he's done everything he can do. If you've watched him play, you know that there's an element to their offense clearly because of that physical limitation that's missing. I don't know what a bye week would mean for him. They got tons of big games coming up. I don't need to read the schedule. But Garrett Nussmeier, I got 9. Lenora Sellers, I put 10. Let me just tell you about this number 10 spot. And this is crazy. Bradley, if you'll do me a favor. All right, so we've established Lenora Sellers as number 10. If you'll do me a favor, if you'll throw the first graphic up again, my preseason top 10. Okay, I want you to think about how crazy this is. I pay a lot of attention to college football. All right, I pay a lot of attention to the SEC. It's not like I threw darts at a board, but I think I would have been luckier throwing darts at a board trying to predict this because we are entering week 4. We're a quarter of the way through the season. And we had the number 10 spot open here, and Lagway was sitting there, and Arch was sitting there, and Lenora Sellers was sitting there. My preseason 1, 2, and 3. And we sat there for like 5 minutes and discussed whether any of them deserved to be number 10. In the end, we put Sellers there. Lagway's not even top 10. Arch is not top 10. I don't know what in the world's happening with Arch Manning. Copy and at least Arch is throwing to his guys or nobody. DJ's just flat out throwing to the other team. So I don't know whomst amongst us could have ever predicted this. Not me. I would love to see anybody's preseason top SEC quarterback rankings that didn't have DJ Lagway top 10 and didn't have Arch top 10. Now, if you were just strictly going on production, I guess Arch wouldn't have been top 10. But if you were going on expectations, even if you were down on those guys, you would have had them top 10. And instead, here we are. So, look, I think that's brave. I think it's very admirable of me. And the reason I have to compliment myself is because I know the comment section is not going to, as well as my close personal social circle, up to and including family. No one's going to congratulate me on this. No one's going to attaboy me. You know, sometimes, as Meemaw said, you got to grab your elbow, push it, and pat your own self on the back. Self-love is important, people. Immunity. Quick Trip, also important. They're fueling the Fall Don't Lie Tour. We have been on the road all season. We were on the road all spring, too, with the Pate State Speaker Series. And we're going to be on the road again this Saturday. You know where we're going? for the first time ever, well, for me at least, Lincoln, Nebraska. From Michigan, Nebraska. The Bus and Bowl, going to go hang out with those guys tomorrow. By the way, it'll be tense over at the Bus, which is a few blocks away from where I sit right now. Everybody that does a show out of Nashville is all packed in this little 2-mile radius circle. So weird. It was not planned that way, but it feels like it. Anyway, we'll be up there Saturday. We'll be on the sideline. I've never been there before. I am steadily taking food recommendations, and I am going to get there courtesy of Quick Trip, and we appreciate them. You know, they hit me up the other day. Quick Trip Joe hit me up the other day, QTJ, as he goes by on my phone, and he said, he said this to me. He said, "You're not giving away enough free gas." I mean, I'm not making that up. He's flat out saying you need to give away more free gas. Those are the kinds of partners that we like on the show. Not the ones who tell you stop giving away free stuff. The ones who tell you, excuse me, you're not giving away enough free stuff. So, message received, QTJ. Free gas being tossed around left and right. You want free gas? Let me know. I'm going to get you some free gas. We got big games this weekend. Big games. Oh, my tongue hurts so bad. Let me take a sip of water, which will do nothing. I'm doubtful. Forget questionable. I'm doubtful. We'll just push through as long as we can, though. Auburn at Oklahoma. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central kickoff on ABC. This game proudly presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors on this show, and plenty of those in and around Norman, Oklahoma. Don't overthink the room on this, guys. Don't overthink the room. Sometimes the headlines are really a key part of the game. And what will the headline be on this game? The headline will be, Jackson Arnold returning to Oklahoma. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's not just low-hanging fruit. That's not just casual conversation. This is a really big deal. Jackson Arnold, a year ago, a little over a year ago, I guess now, was the hope for Oklahoma football. And a year later, he's not public enemy number one. I don't think people hate him or anything like that. It's just that it didn't work out there. Now he's starting at another SEC school. They're coming in there. He's starting for them. It's a conference game. Meanwhile, you, Oklahoma, have gone to Washington State and imported a coordinator and a quarterback. And we all knew in the preseason, when we looked at this matchup, at least on this show, we circled it, and we said that's a huge wild card game. Even though it's week 4, you could have two very different roads for each of them. Because we knew, what did we know? We knew they both will have already faced one high-level opponent. And we knew Auburn had to open on the road at Baylor. We knew that Oklahoma had Michigan coming in. They could both be undefeated. They could both be one-loss teams, or disaster could strike, and it could be worse than that. The latter two scenarios would have one or both coaches on the hot seat already. Well, that has not come to pass. Instead, they're undefeated. Oklahoma favored by 6.5, and here we go. I have to be honest with you. I love to build suspense in these game previews, but I don't love this spot for Jackson Arnold. Their pass game's very limited. I've watched a lot of Auburn football this year, and almost everything in the passing game is within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And you look at those little green dots on that pass spray chart, and they're all underneath, and they're all out to the left and out to the right, and there is nothing over the middle deep third of the field. Nothing. And it's not because guys aren't open. It's because the ball's not getting to them. So I am thinking to myself, all right, well, it's not like I expected Jackson Arnold to lead the country in passing. Boy, I'd love a little bit more than he's given me here. And now I'm watching him go in Norman, Oklahoma, and I know good and well who the DC is there. And I know how good he is at taking something away. So I highly doubt that Auburn's just going to run wild and Jackson Arnold's just going to run wild. He'll get his yardage on the ground, but I doubt that's going to dominate the game. They're going to make Jackson Arnold throw the ball to win. It's what they did against Underwood a couple of weeks ago when Michigan came in there, and he couldn't do it. And frankly, Oklahoma mistakes are all that kept Michigan within a puncher's reach of competing in the game. So I speak about the Michigan game because you would think as I say this out loud, oh, well, it sounds like you believe this game profiles kind of like that Oklahoma-Michigan game. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Here's where you develop some hope for Auburn. Michigan rolled in there asking me and you to play receiver if we wanted to. Auburn rolls in there, Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, I'd say Horatio Fields, I'd say Malcolm Simmons. They got a number of guys that would be the best receiving option on Michigan's team, which leads me to believe, no, they're not going to dominate Oklahoma on the ground. Yes, Jackson Arnold would have to throw the ball to win the game. The difference is he's got receivers that can go fight. I mean, receivers that 2 or 3 times in this game, when all else fails, you can just throw it up to, and there's not a whole heck of a lot of design behind that. That's just, I've got an athlete out here, and I'm going to toss it up and just bet he's better than whichever DB's covering him. I mean, that's about as basic as it gets. That's just raw competition, and I'm better than you. Watch when this ball goes up in the air, I'll prove it. That's kind of how I see Auburn's passing game having to not dominate here, but having to change the game if they change the game here. Auburn is 101st in explosive pass rate right now. That flat out has to change. There is very, very little path to Auburn winning this game Saturday if the explosive pass is not there. I don't care if it's down the seam. I don't care where it is, but they got to push the ball down the field. I think for Oklahoma, there's no way. I'd say this for both teams. You know what? Let me talk about Auburn defensively for a second, because I haven't been all that impressed with them. Oklahoma adjusted their roster for this moment. They went and added some at receiver. They got other guys that were already there healthy. They, of course, went and got the quarterback, and here they are, and they're a really good team. And I think if you're Auburn, you look at that, and, I mean, Auburn defensively has been nothing to write home about. It's my primary concern for them outside of the obvious with quarterback themselves. There's a big difference in John Mateer getting his passing yards on you versus him completely owning you with explosive scores. Because the former can happen as long as the latter doesn't happen. And by that, I mean, if you tell me John Mateer's going to have completed balls of 40, 41, and 44 yards Saturday, that's a huge deal, and it's not great. Did they score, or did you push them out of bounds at the 7-yard line and compact the field, and it's a goal-to-go situation? And who knows, maybe they still score, but there's a whole lot better shot you got there. And it rips a lot of that playbook out, and maybe you bat balls at the line of scrimmage at that point. Maybe Oklahoma can't pound it in against you. Maybe they got to settle for 3. Like, that's the kind of stuff also that I think could tilt this game. But if Oklahoma gets up early and they force Auburn to throw to stay in it, I hate that recipe. Hate it. I also wonder which non-QB run game shows up. It's kind of been a theme for both of these teams. Oklahoma wants it, all right? I don't think they have to have it. Their tailbacks are averaging about 4 yards per carry. Auburn needs it. They just flat out need it. They got to be able to run the ball and limit possessions on the other side. And their tailbacks are averaging 6 yards per carry. Of course, the competition level has been a little mixed there. And the other thing that I think could strongly factor in that won't show up in the box score is Auburn's 101st in penalty rate so far this year. And they're going into Norman. It's the toughest place they will have played so far this year. Oklahoma's top 25, by the way. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. FanDuel right now has Oklahoma favored by 6.5. We love Oklahoma in this game. The model has OU all the way out to -9. We made this one of our best bets on Sunday night. If you were watching, you know we got down on Oklahoma -5.5. That number has moved. It wouldn't surprise me if it crossed 7. So give me Oklahoma to win and give me Oklahoma to cover. I just don't love the spot for Auburn at all. They are, however, watching us, probably a number of Auburn fans in Wedowee, Alabama. That's where Aunt Winnie's from, by the way, Jesse. They're watching us in Dutch Harbor, Alaska. The Alaskan viewers always fascinate me. I appreciate them. I appreciate you guys more than you could ever know, especially our good friends in Dutch Harbor. Davenport, Florida is tuned in, and Fielddale, Virginia, tuned in. Very, very observant, dialed-in viewers and listeners may notice the whale breach is back tonight. I saw the whale breach mentioned in the live chat. The whale breach is a very, very lesser-known part of the show. It happens in the spring and the fall during allergy season where I get a little stopped up. This has nothing to do with the tongue bite. I get a little stopped up, and to clear the nasal passages, as I'm talking, I'll do this. And you can hear it. And we have been told on podcast, it sounds like a whale breach, just clearing the blowhole as it comes up for air. I don't appreciate the comparison, but I can't do anything about it. God made me this way, just like God made the whales that way. And so however we have to clear the blowholes is however we have to clear the blowholes. The important part is we got to get to the Florida-Miami preview somehow. So 3, 2, 1, here we go. Florida at Miami, Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. Let me set the table for you. It's bad for Florida right now, and it's great for Miami. Now, two worlds looking totally different. What does conventional college football history tell us happens here? Conventional college football history tells us you don't just keep climbing and you don't just keep falling. If you're climbing, someone eventually yanks you back down to earth. And if you got a really, really good, talented team, you don't just fall forever. You get backed into the corner, wounded animal mode, wounded gator mode, if you will. And eventually, it just clicks for you. You're not always going to be -4 or -5 in the turnover battle, I don't think. That's what generic history tells us. Heavy due down spot for Miami, dominant last week. Heavy due up spot for Florida, terrible last week. Whale breach. How do you call this game if you're Billy Napier? I'm dead serious. I'm not asking us to be play callers. Most of us aren't qualified to be, and also those of us who think we aren't qualified to be. Florida is 57 to 42, 57.5 to 42.5 pass to run ratio right now. Mind-boggling. Because I thought they had one of the best offensive lines and one of the best tailback rooms in the country. And by the way, I may not have been wrong. Jaden Ball's 6.57 yards per carry right now. And he's averaging 12 attempts per game. Is it punishment? Is his cardio not where it needs to be? He's averaging over 6.5 yards per carry. And this is a Florida team that should want to impose their will. It's not like they've been playing from 3 scores down the whole year either. These have been very, very close games they've played so far. So you either commit to running the ball this week at the worst time imaginable because you're facing maybe the best run defense you'll see all year, or you tell DJ to just keep slinging it and hope for the best. Ironically, that may be your best strategy this week. I'm kind of playing around, but that actually may be how the game plays out. But think about being Billy Napier. One thing he's made clear, he is calling the plays. That's not changing. That won't change until you have another head coach in there, it seems. So you got to tailback that the numbers suggest you can trust. The play calling suggests maybe they don't. And then you got a quarterback who, according to recent results, I wouldn't have much trust in at all to make sound decisions. And yet, I don't think they're going to run the ball all that effectively on Miami. It could be that targeting this revamped secondary is your best shot here. Do you do it, though? Do you really watch your guy? I mean, DJ looked lost last week. Tossing 5 picks. Do you really trot him back out there and throw the ball 35 times again this week? I don't know. Florida has one of the best defenses in the country, though. That's what I do know. 2 touchdowns allowed. Caleb Banks is going to be out. This is going to be the best offense they've seen by a pretty wide margin. And, there's, again, going back to conventional college football wisdom, it would say, all right, Miami's looked good so far. Boy, offensive numbers through the roof. But who have they faced, And conventional college football wisdom would say, boy, when the competition level ramps up this significantly, could be that crowbar theory is in play. One of the many theories we believe in on the campus of Pate State, but I don't think it is. I certainly don't think Florida's going to give up half 100 like USF did last week, but I don't think so. And you know why? Because the competition level here is not foreign to Carson Beck. He's played in the SEC multiple years. So he's seen Florida, but also he's seen Alabama. He's seen LSU. Did Georgia play LSU? Point stands. He's seen this level of play. This is not new to him. And he's got really emerging superstar in Tony. And he's got running backs they actually will hand the ball off to. And he's got an offensive line that is living up to the hype. So I'm not all that worried about it. And I supremely respect Florida's defense. And you're going to have to scratch and claw to hang 24 or 27 here. But that's probably going to be enough if recent history offensively from Florida is any indication. I think you got to keep a close eye on the pace of this game in the first half. I think Florida may want to crawl in this game. I think Miami may want to sprint in this game. But if Lagway's back in that same spot they were last week, where it's shaky early, game's still within reach, how are they going to call that game? And the other thing about it is, if this game does slow to a crawl, is Miami not kind of equipped for that as well? I think this is another spot, kind of like that, who was it? It was Vandy in South Carolina last week, where they're playing in week 3, but they already have a common opponent. Well, these teams right here, Florida, Miami, they're playing in week 4. They already got a common opponent, USF. And one of them struggled and got beat at home, and the other one just splattered them at home. And I think Miami can win either style of game, is what I'm trying to tell you. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. The FanDuel number currently is Miami minus 7.5. The model pretty much agrees. We've got Miami minus 8. I've got to tell you, I know what generic history says about this game. I'm going to go the other way. I think Miami's better, and I think they're looking to make a statement the same as they did when they opened in the Swamp last year. And I think they will. And it doesn't even necessarily mean Florida plays terribly. I just think Miami's that much better right now. So I'll take them to win. Competitive game, but in the end, I'll take them to cover as well. Academy Sports and Outdoors, if you need to get geared up, if you got tailgating plans this weekend or at any point in the future, or if you just need a jacket for the fall, or if it doesn't feel like fall yet where you live and you need to restock up on some teas, if you have camping plans in your near future, if you want to get an early start on Christmas shopping for all we care, we being me and Academy, go for it. Just go to Academy Sports and Outdoors. You may think, oh, sporting goods. It's a whole lot more than that. I would encourage you, don't take my word for that, although you can trust me on this, but you don't have to take my word for it. Go in there and look around and find out how many times you say, whoa, I didn't know they had that here. They do. They've got it there. And if you can't get there in person, that's a shame, but academy.com will suffice. Let's move on. Got a big crowd watching live, by the way. Oh, I forgot to tell you. All right, I don't want to bore you with all the details. Our numbers, we get an analytics report every week. Most of the time, I just toss it to the side, whatever, stick to the process, horse blinders on and stuff. Oh, I looked at our numbers today. Insane. So just a quick bow of the head and thank you to everyone. We ask you to subscribe, and boy, you have been. And for the remaining 3 or 4 of you out there who haven't, I would humbly ask that you end your holdout. We're trying to get to 500K around here. It's free. Nothing happens. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It just helps us. And if you think you're subscribed, check and make sure, because it turns out many of you think you are, and you aren't. It'll make us feel better. It'll make you feel better. All right, here we go. Back to the predictions. Michigan at Nebraska, Saturday, 3:30 game on CBS, and we're going to be there. Do you know what this means? You know what this really means? You know what the huge takeaway is? We get to share a sideline with Jenny Dell again, and I haven't been able to say that all year. It's fueled by Quick Trip. Our trip there is, the whole game is. It's going to be a spectacular Saturday in Lincoln, and I say that as someone who's never been there before. My first trip there, it's the Bussin' Bowl. I'll have Will Compton there. I'll have Taylor Lewan there. We're going to be on the sidelines. It's going to be great. What a prove-it spot for Matt Rule. There are some things we believe in on this show. God, country, the rule. Year 3 under Matt Rule. You're just going to be a good team. It is year 3 under Matt Rule in Lincoln. So far, so good. Beat Cincinnati in week 1. Akron, splattered. HCU, splattered. Michigan, splattered? I don't think I expect that. But if we believe in the rule, isn't this the game where you really announce your arrival? Isn't this the game where you kind of plant the flag, so to speak? It's turf. You don't want to do that at home. But figuratively, this is the game that if you win it, and especially if you were to win it emphatically, that people look and say, hey, maybe that rule thing, maybe that's true. Maybe he's not just a podcaster. Maybe he is a really good college football coach. Now, to do that, we've got to find out. Is Michigan going to go in there and steamroll you? I mean, are they going to be able to make it academic? Can't have that. But also, we got to find out if Nebraska's offense is real or if it's just sort of fool's gold. Because I'm looking at these numbers on this piece of paper, and these are silent paper popper stats. Silent. Okay? Not. We're looking to do that. Dylan Raiola's number 1 in the country in passing efficiency. Whomstead have thunk it? Run game looks good. Veteran offensive line. They're 3rd in the country in third down conversions. And as soon as I say all that, I know I got a Nebraska hater, because they do exist, yelling, yeah, but who have they played? Well, they're going to play Michigan Saturday. If they do it against Michigan, is that enough for you? Probably not, knowing the haters like I do. But I do have to inform you, painfully, though it may be, that the crowbar theory is in play in this game. For those who are new to the campus here at Pate State, the crowbar theory is a little something like this. If you have a high-level offense, in college football at least, there is a theory that sometimes you just haven't faced a good enough defense, and a good enough defense in college does not just slow you down. If you're averaging 40 points per game, it's not like you face a high-level defense and, oh, that's okay, we won't score 40, we'll only score 29. In college, sometimes the disparity in competition level is such that you have built your numbers into fool's gold, and when you face a quality opponent, they meet what we call the freeze point. And they just toss the crowbar in the bicycle spokes, and what you find is that doesn't slow the bike down, it immediately stops the bike. And you go from scoring 40 per week to you got 9 points midway through the fourth quarter having no clue what's happening to you. We do at least have to acknowledge that's in play because of the relatively unproven nature of Nebraska on the national stage and because of the profile of Michigan's defense. We do have to acknowledge that. Very obviously, Michigan's about to come after Dylan Raiola. Cincinnati did. I mean, that game could have gone the other way in week 1. They had 9 quarterback pressures. Now, they only got him on the ground once, but he threw 2 other near picks that no one talks about because they weren't picked off. But what if they are picked off? This is scary stuff. What if they are picked off? Pat Mahomes is not even going to be there this week. So unseen moral support's not there. What if they get picked off? Remember, 2 things to remember. Firstly, they only had 3 yards per carry against Cincinnati. And remember this, that Cincinnati quarterback in week 1, Brendan Sorsby, had 13 carries of his own for 96 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. I mentioned that because last week Bryce Underwood carried it for 100 yards himself. And I'm steadily sitting there getting texts from Michigan fans, this is what our offense needs to look like. This is what the Michigan offense should look like. So that's another way this game becomes academic. You can't make it be academic. You got to take their best punch and not only absorb it, you got to be able to deliver one. Also, Raiola, look, here's what he needs to do. Raiola needs to hit the throws that are there. Because I talked all spring and summer about how Nebraska had revamped their wide receiver room enough and it was an underrated receiver room, and I don't think I was wrong about that. I think I'm right. And I do think they have the quarterback that can get the job done. But I also thought DJ Lagway was going to be the best signal caller in the SEC, and I was wrong about that. So I need to be right about Dylan Raiola here. What he needs to do is hit the throws that are there. That's all you got to do. That's what John Mateer did against them. And the plays were there to be had. You know why? Because he's got a good enough arm and good enough receiver core. I think you do as well. Special teams is huge here. They've imported a punter from halfway around the world at Nebraska. Special teams kept Michigan in that Oklahoma game. Don't let that happen to you here. Home field, at your back. I'm there to witness it all. And a young quarterback still in Bryce Underwood on the road. But here's what we keep waiting for. We keep waiting for that spike game. You know, we keep waiting for that Bryce Underwood announcing his arrival game. That could also happen this week. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. And let's take a look at what FanDuel thinks. FanDuel has Michigan as a 2.5-point favorite right now. The model would like me to deliver the following message to you. The wrong team is favored in this game. And the model says it, and you know what? I agree with it. Game outright. The rule is real, and Nebraska is going to get that signature win, and they're going to announce their arrival in the Big Ten. Dare I say they're going to announce their arrival in the college football playoff picture? I should have whispered that. I should not have said it out loud, but I've already said it out loud. We're live. We cannot take it back. Give me Nebraska outright. Emphatically. We're doing a live show there Friday, by the way. Oh, boy. You know, speaking of live, speaking of shooting from the hip, speaking of, oh, you know the thing, we had a pretty legendary press conference go down today. Bradley, let me give you a good endpoint. What happened to Dabo today? A press conference happened, nearly an hour-long press conference in Clemson today, and here's what happened. As best I can tell, and I'm going to play you some sound so you can experience it for yourself, and it is an experience. As best I can tell, Dabo walked into a press conference today, and he had an answer, and he was searching for a question. And Nick Saban used to do this a lot. He had a message he wanted to deliver, and he was just hoping that a reporter teed him up with a question that was even in the neighborhood of the answer that he already knew he wanted to give. Well, Dabo walked in a press conference today, and he had an answer he wanted to give. He was waiting for the question. The question didn't come. And so you know what he did? He just kind of crashed out anyway. And to be clear, I'm going to play you several bites from this press conference. I want to make sure you understand, we are not clipping this out of context. We are not twisting his words against him. I love Dabo Swinney, so I wouldn't do that to begin with. But I do want to make sure you know when I'm playing you this sound, because when you listen to what I'm going to play you, if you're like me, the first thing you would ask yourself is, okay, but what was said before that? I'm going to let you know what was said before that. One of the assembled members of the media there asked the following question. What's one offensive play you'd like to have back against Georgia Tech? I'm going to read it again. What is one offensive play you'd like to have back against Georgia Tech? Right? Now, to Dabo's credit, he did answer that question. But he wasn't done. When he finished the answer, he wasn't done. So, triggered by the question, what's one offensive play you'd like to have back? Let me walk you through what happened over the next 13 minutes. Play SOT 1, Bradley.
We're a great program because we've always responded. And we finished 9-4. It's the worst season we've had in 14 years. That's the worst season we've had in 14 years. How many ADs would sign up for that? How many AD? I know. So again, then we come back last year and we win the league again. We go back to the playoff. And right now, here we are. This is yet to be determined. This ain't written yet. I just say that, like, what's so bad about our program? What's so bad about it? Like, what's so bad about the worst season that we've had 14 years? How many programs in college football would sign up for one, and only once, 14 years of 9 wins? How many programs would sign up for that?
Okay, classic gaslighting technique here that's not going to work because we're not in middle school. So to be very clear, many athletic directors would sign up for the past 10 to 15 years at Clemson. We're not measuring Clemson against the many, you know that. We're measuring them against the few, which is a credit, by the way, to the standard you've established there. But what we have here is essentially, we have a gaslighting technique. It works on a lot of people, by the way. The gaslighting technique is like if you're an honor roll student and, 3 B's popped up on the report card. You go home and you hand the report card to Dad. Dad's going to look at you and say, why did you make 3 B's? That's not acceptable. And you look back at Dad and say, I guess you're telling me I'm a failure. I guess I'm just the worst kid in the world. No. Parents not going to fall for that. It's a good try. It's a good try. That's closely related to the one time when I tried to convince my dad to let me go spank myself. I'll go punish myself, okay? You don't have to do it. It's a great strategy. It just doesn't work. Nor does this work. Nobody's telling you you're bad. No one said that. In fact, the dude asked what play you'd like to have back. And then 7.5 minutes later, rambling, semi-coherence, we go, what's so bad about our program? Absolutely nothing. We're not looking to be just not bad at Clemson. We're looking to be great. We just hadn't tasted greatness in a while. That's the only thing that people are really complaining about. He was not even close to done. Side 2, roll it, Bradley.
In the playoffs, so we all talk about, we've been 7 times in 10 years. Who can say that? If we stink because we haven't played for the national championship since January of 20, well, I guess we stink. Or we haven't won it since January of 19. We haven't won the national championship. Well, then I guess we stink. But why are we held to a different standard from all these other teams out there who ain't ever won nothing?
Yeah, so this is the one that got me. Why are we held to a different standard than a bunch of programs that have won nothing? Because you're not those programs. And I'd ask Dabo Swinney, do you hold Clemson to a different standard than the other programs that have won nothing? And the answer is yes, you do. So what are you chastising me for? If I'm holding you to a different standard, just like you admit you hold Clemson to a different standard, what's the problem here? Again, no one's telling you you suck. No one who's serious, at least. No one's telling you you're bad. But I really, truthfully, I don't care how Clemson compares to Akron. I don't care how Clemson compares to Bowling Green. I don't care how Clemson compares to Maryland, because Clemson's better than them. And they're better than them because you built it. So you know that. And you know good and well you hold yourself to a standard above that of most other coaches in college football. You hold your program to a standard higher than most, if not all, other programs in college football. And so when you're not there, and when I'm used to you being 1 or 1A for a long time, and you're in the top group, you're in the top tier, and now you've relegated yourself to maybe the bottom of tier 1 or the top of tier 2, I'm not telling you you're terrible, but I'm going to notice it, just like you've noticed it. So again, no one needs to play games here. No one needs to say, oh, you think I suck, you think I'm terrible. No, I don't. No, if you sucked and you were terrible, they'd fire you. They're not going to fire you, nor should they. No serious person would even suggest it. But why are we held to a different standard? Because you set the standard. That's why you're held to the different standard. All right, gear it up, Bradley. He still wasn't done. Sot 3, it rolls on.
We're not perfect, and we may suck this year. We may lay a freaking egg and go 6-6, but I don't think so. And I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people, but I don't think so. All right? The reason we are, I think, the best program in college football is because we've always battled. We've always responded. We are not perfect. We've had some bad moments. We've had some bad little stretches. We've had some lows, and this is one of those. But we have a consistency, and we have a will to win and a fight and a program that is, to me, the model in all of college football.
That's why I will not seriously bang on Dabo Swinney, because I respect him about as much as I respect anyone in college football, and he is right when he says that. Now, you could argue they're not the best program or whatever, but they've been a model program. They've been a model of consistency. It rubs a lot of people the wrong way when you say they do it different at Clemson, but they do it different at Clemson. I know because I've talked to plenty enough kids who have gone on official visits there versus other places, and they've come, even the ones that may not have committed there. They do talk about it being different at Clemson. So I really have no problem with that, and that's why I've always been conflicted on this. I've talked about this several times, even leading into this year. I talked about how conflicted I was because I personally would love to see them leverage the transfer portal more. And I stand by that. And I think it could fundamentally have changed the fortunes of this team this year. But he doesn't feel that way. And he's long since earned the right to run his program however he wants to. But the point is, even if I disagree with him on this or that, they're his values. They're his principles. And he's always adhered to them, and he's never apologized for it. And there's some folks out there who are just spineless, and they're terrified of being criticized, and he's never been that. And I've always appreciated that. That's why this kind of stuff is a little conflicting for me. So I will say, in the interest of of fairness and balance here. He's absolutely right when he said what he said there. But it wasn't over. Continue it, Bradley.
If they want me gone, if they tired of winning, they can send me on their way, because that's all we've done is win. So if they tired of winning, we've won this league 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that not good? I'm just asking, is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. To win your league 8 out of 10 years, to go to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, to be in 4 national championships, win it twice. Yeah, we're a little down right now. Take your shots, but I got a long memory, in case y'all don't know. We'll be all right. We'll bounce back. And, hey, listen, I mean, if Clemson's tired of winning, they can send me on my way, but I'm going to go somewhere else and coach. I ain't going to the beach. Hell, I'm 55. I got a long way to go. Y'all going to have to deal with me for a while. I got a long way to go. I'm just getting going. I'm just now good enough to be a head coach. I'm just now figuring it out. So we'll be around a while. Let's hang in there.
Yeah, no one's letting anyone go. Let's calm down on that. All right, but I do want to say this. I love Dabo Swinney. I have long admired the way he does his business. I think that the game has passed him by a little bit, but it doesn't have to have passed him by. When I say it's passed him by, I don't mean it's some mental thing, like he struggles to keep up, or his techniques are antiquated, or like his offensive or defensive system. I don't mean it that way. I mean, the sport's changed, and he has voluntarily chosen not to roll with that flow. Now, I always thought to myself, and I don't know Dabo personally at all, but I've always wondered from afar, I've wondered if he's looking at the sport and the way it's changing, and he's had a great lengthy career. Maybe he's looking at it, he's in his mid-50s saying, maybe it's about time I go try something else. Well, clearly that's not the case. So I fully believe he was honest there and transparent when he said, well, if I leave here, I'm not retiring. I'm just going somewhere else. I'll start another program. But he was pretty emphatic that they'll get it right there. You picked up on that several times, as did I. He was pretty emphatic. Yeah, we'll get it right. We'll win again. I'm just not confident in that. Well, let me say this. If they don't change some fundamental things about that program, they are not going to win at a high level anymore. They can be a good program. I think the floor is pretty high there. So they'll never drop below that of a solid top 8 to top 15 caliber program, but those teams aren't winning national championships. And fortunately / unfortunately, he set that standard there. That's why his legacy will never be in doubt for me. I don't care if he never wins another game. But if you're talking about being better than just good, if you're talking about competing for a national championship, I need to remind you, or I need to ask you, I guess, what makes you confident it's ever going to get better than it is this year? Because I think this may be Clemson's best team over the next several years. This was the one they built to. You want to talk about the Clemson way of doing things. Okay, the Clemson way is we don't really use the portal. We believe in our people. We go recruit our guys, like Cade Klubnik, former highly touted guy. Bring that quarterback in. You develop him. You go hire Garrett Riley, a highly sought-after coordinator, and you've got those two married together for multiple years, and you let it cook in your system, in your culture, in your way of doing things to where he's a multi-year coordinator, coaching a multi-year quarterback. You've got tons of returning experience, homegrown talent. You recruited it. You developed it in-house. You went and got a high-profile defensive coordinator to pair along with all of that. And this is the result. Like I ask, what is it about that formula that will produce an infinitely better result down the road? This is the one that should be delivering for you. And it's not. And I'm telling you, like the roster talent's trending the wrong way there. Not falling off a cliff, but they're not landing the caliber of athlete that they used to. So that could change. Okay, I have no idea if something's going to change there. If it doesn't change, if the Clemson way just continues to be the same Clemson way that it's been, you're just looking at a pretty good program. That's what they'll be, a pretty good program. I just don't think that's going to be good enough for them. And if Dabo's honest, it's not good enough for him either. I think he's a lot more disappointed about the way this thing got out of the gate than he's letting on. I'm not saying he doesn't seem fazed by it. I think it's probably taken him a little more by surprise. I guarantee you he did not expect this kind of result unless there was big injury, like quarterback injury or something like that. But it's been disappointing, and I don't know that there's a lot of room for that team to improve because it's not a lot of unknown commodities. See, that's the thing about some of these teams where, they threw a bunch of guys together from the portal and they got a bunch of true freshmen starting. You could watch a team like that lose early in the year and you think, well, you know what? Give it time. Let's check back a month from now. I bet they'll be a way different team. Why would that Clemson team change much? Why would that even happen? And then if it does change a whole lot, why did it take losing early in the year for a bunch of returning starters to hit the gas? Like, what sense does that make? So, entertaining press conference. I'll give it to him. Next up, we got JP Poll. We got one. JP Poll, Week 4 edition, is in, not to be confused with the Commissioner's Poll. If you came here looking for rankings, you want to see the Commissioner's Poll, not the AP Poll. Never. AP Poll's dead to us. So the Commissioner's Poll, that's Thursday. That's rankings. These are not rankings. You see what the monitor says? These are not rankings. The JP Poll is power ratings. The JP Poll, which is generated by this model right here, is just meant to show in a predictive manner, meaning not caring about the past, looking to the future. In a predictive manner, it's supposed to show us neutral field favorability, meaning it is going to stack all these teams based on who it would favor against who on a neutral field. That was pretty clear. I mean, that was one time through. We didn't pre-record that or anything. So with that in mind, let's start counting down. I did listen to some of you who have been criticizing our methodology here, and you said it doesn't help that we don't have a visual aid. If we're listening, just listening on podcast, could you please just do it in order instead of doing it in a random order? I've listened. Never say I don't listen. I've listened. Let's start at 20. We'll work our way down. We got Illinois jumping 6 spots to number 20, and they've got a big couple of weeks on deck. So Illinois checks in at number 20. FSU's at 19. All right, just hold on FSU. Let me get back to them. Texas Tech's up 5 spots to number 18. We got USC dropping. The model was not impressed with the Purdue game. So USC's at 17, and Clemson is at 16. Now, let me tell you, just because the model spits this out doesn't mean I agree with it, because if you think that I'm taking Clemson over Florida State on a neutral field right now, drugs. I'm not. So I do disagree with the model's placement. I think Clemson should be a little bit lower than this. But if you're wondering, let me save you the time. Georgia Tech will not be in the top 20 for the JP poll. And if you're confused by that, like if you're wondering, for example, but if they're not in the top 20 and Clemson's 16, how does that make sense? Georgia Tech just beat Clemson. Think about it this way. Clemson entered the game as a 3.5-point favorite on the road. So we're adding 3 points of home field value or thereabouts for Georgia Tech. So add 3 to 3.5. That implies about 6.5 points in gap on a neutral field between Clemson and Georgia Tech. Let me tell you how this works. There is no world where there is a 6.5-point gap going into a game, and then the game is decided at the buzzer on a field goal, and that gap closes. That's not the way this works. It's not the way it works. And FanDuel would readily back me up on this. Clemson would absolutely be favored against Georgia Tech on a neutral field tomorrow. Now, I'd take Georgia Tech, to be very clear, just like I took them last week. I'd have no qualms about that. But Clemson would be favored. And that's all this is about. Number 15 is Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz has checked in the top 20. They're up 5 spots. Utah, 14. That is really high for a Big 12 team. Because a lot of this, as you guys love to point out, it absolutely is about roster talent. It absolutely is about recruiting rankings. A lot of it's baked in. You may scoff at that. I'd ask you to find me a better predictive talent measurement than that. I'd ask you to do that. I don't think you can. So it's not everything, but they are baked in here. And for Utah to be number 14 anyway is impressive. Ole Miss is number 13, LSU 12. Texas, this is significant. Anybody who's watched this show for a long time knows that the model and Texas share the same bed every night. and the model has dropped Texas out of the top 10. I never thought I'd see the day. Texas is number 11. Understand, not in a ranking, but in a power rating format, for a talent roster as loaded as Texas to be outside of the top 10 is shocking. I was about to say no quarterback injury. Reportedly, no quarterback injury. Because really the only way you would see that kind of drop is with quarterback injury normally. We're told that's not the case. So yeah, Texas 11. All right, top 10. Texas A&M checking in at number 10. Tennessee is 9. They're up 5 spots after losing a game, which is the difference in power ratings and rankings. A lot of the doubt being erased about Tennessee. Oklahoma's 8. Notre Dame is number 7. Winless Notre Dame. Number 7. Miami's number 6. Let's talk. I'm giving you time. I know a lot of you are screaming right now. All right, so there's one group that I'm not going to waste much time on that still, after all these years, doesn't understand how power ratings work. To them, of course, Notre Dame at 7 makes no sense. I suspect, Jesse, that there are even some people who know how power ratings work who are saying, no, I get all that. But even still, Notre Dame can't be top 10. Yes, they can. Notre Dame 100% would be favored today if they played A&M in Indianapolis or Kansas City or a neutral field. They would be favored. They just would be. Well, Josh, we're going to go down this road. I'm going to speak for you. Well, Josh, does that mean you don't care about the results on the field? Yes. Well, why do you still have A&M behind them? Tune in Thursday. I won't. That's when I'll rank them. This is a power rating. What do we care about here? One thing. Who would be favored? Notre Dame would be favored. That's it. That's the end. It doesn't even matter who I'd bet once the line was put out there. It only matters what the line would be. And if you're not interested in that, great news. You don't have to click on it. I don't even know what I want you to click on anyway. All right, let's go 5-1 here right quick. Penn State is number 5. Alabama's up back in the top 5. They're at number 4. So it seems the model was convinced from that win over Wisconsin. Georgia's number 3. Oregon's number 2. And Ohio State is number 1. There is a 10-point gap right now between number 1 and number 14. There is a 10-point gap between number 14 and 42. The field has never been this compacted. And for the record, if you're wondering who just missed out, Auburn's at 21, Indiana 22, Nebraska 23, Georgia Tech 24, Michigan 25. That is the JP poll this week. I had a conversation with Alex today. I was perusing the Pate State store, patestateMaterial.com. I happen to prefer Tri-Blend as a material. I happen to prefer it. And so I asked her, can we get some more of these shirts in Tri-Blend? For me, I was just being selfish because I was having her ship me a big order because you can do that when you have your own store. And she said, do you just want me to put Tri-Blend options on a bunch of the shirts, which I didn't even know we could do. So for those of you who have been banging the Tri-Blend drum, Tri-Blend options are coming on a lot of the shirts in the store. We also added a new one today that is closely correlated to power ratings over rankings. PateStateMaterial.com. Shirts flying off the shelves. However, unlike a couple of years ago when we kept selling out, we will not sell out of these. We got them. We just got stacks and stacks and stacks. So buy till your heart is content. I hold in my hand a very, very big matchup. Oh, by the way, I've got 4 added best bets before the end of the show, so stick around. A couple of more minutes. Texas Tech is playing Utah at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on Fox this Saturday. They will still be serving breakfast at McDonald's in Salt Lake City when this game kicks off. And yet it could be the Big 12 game of the year. I know. Most of you don't know much about these rosters. And I'm not telling you you need to do flashcard quizzes till Saturday. I'm asking you to watch the game, and I'm asking you to at least know the quarterbacks. Baron Morton is number 1 in the country, tied for first in passing touchdowns. And with an 11-to-1 touchdown to INT ratio, he's averaging over 300 yards per game. That's Texas Tech's guy. Utah's guy is Devon Dampier, transferred there from New Mexico, with his offensive coordinator, because, yes, Oklahoma's not the only one who did that. And he is a 73% completion guy, 8 touchdowns total, no interceptions, and he is also their leading rusher. Great QB matchup, great matchup period. Probably the best 2 teams in the Big 12 that I've seen early on. However, we don't know a whole lot because they hadn't played a whole lot. I mean, Utah skull-drug UCLA, but it turns out everyone was going to go on to do that. And so, doesn't mean they're not great. It just means we can't fully buy into them just off that result. And Cal Poly, Wyoming, late score to cover last week. We noticed that because we were on the other side. But specifically, how about Texas Tech with all these new parts, all these transfer portal additions, going on the road for the first time? You know what happens when you take the wagon out on the trail for the first time? It gets rattled, it gets shaken, and you find out. Is everything bolted the way it needs to be? Is everything attached the way it needs to be? No way to know until you hit the trail. It's the way it worked for the Settlers. That's the way it's going to work for Joey McGuire this Saturday. But also, and again, I go back to the UCLA game with Utah. There's a chance that you come back to earth and you find out, in retrospect, that week 1 result, not all it was cracked up to be. Or they're every bit as good as they looked, and it wasn't a mirage. The matchup of this game, if you want to look past quarterback, is going to be awesome. And it's the Texas Tech defensive front against Utah's offensive line. And we told you guys a couple of weeks ago about that Texas Tech defensive front. If you've watched them at all, they had a bunch of guys starting last year that are still there that are merely on the 2 and 3 deep now because they replaced them with better players. There's no other way to say it. That depth and athleticism that they have up front is different than anyone in the Big 12. And Utah's offensive line, for all we know, different than any offensive line in the Big 12. Texas Tech's already got 9 sacks so far this year. They're excellent versus the run, and it's just good on good. It's going to be really fun to watch. Is any of it a mirage? That's all we're looking for, really. There's an opportunity, I think, in this game for someone to emerge as more than just a Big 12 contender. Like right now, no one's thinking about any Big 12 team in the national title picture. And that's okay. There is a shot that one of these wins emphatically enough Saturday to where you come out of it saying, dude, Texas Tech may be an actual playoff contender above and beyond just making it. Or Utah may be that above and beyond just making it. I think Texas Tech can probably be comfortable in more kinds of games, like more game scripts, if you will. But if Utah gets theirs, it doesn't really matter because they only need one way to win. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. Utah is favored right now at FanDuel by 2.5. The model is a little more bullish on Utah. It's got a -4. I have no idea. So you know what I'm going to do? Out of these 2 teams, I went and visited one. I watched one in the spring. So I feel a little more knowledgeable on them, and that's Texas Tech. I'm going to roll the dice on Texas Tech. Actually, I'm not rolling the dice at all. I'm not betting a dime on this game. But I am going Texas Tech to win the game outright. Not a whole lot of skill in this one, I think. Just have fun sitting back and watching it. But if you do, sorry, Bradley, I didn't give you enough pad there. If you do feel like placing a wager on this one, friendly or otherwise, FanDuel is the place to do it. The exclusive odds provider of Pate State. And also a place where not only could you go bet this game, but if you don't want to bet this game, you know, you could just go bet one of these teams to win the Big 12. That's there as well. Oh, by the way, those are the number 1 and 2 teams in the odds to win the Big 12, and they're playing this Saturday at 10 a.m. local time. If you're a new customer at FanDuel, if you haven't signed up, make sure that you can responsibly do it. And if you want to do it, there's a QR code on your screen, or you can just go FanDuel.com/Josh Pate. I'm getting you a bonus bet as soon as you get in there. You bet $5 on any bet, and it wins. You get $300 in bonus bets. And every week, there's a whole host of you who keep finding out there's no hidden anything there. You just bet $5 on some big favorite on the money line. They win, and you get $300 in bonus bets. It's not free money because technically it's not guaranteed. But if you know what you're doing, it's pretty close to guaranteed. So we encourage you to take advantage of that. As we close the show out tonight, We have got 4 added best bets. To remind you who we're already on, we locked in Troy plus 6.5 at Buffalo. That number has since dropped to 5.5. I hope you got it when we handed it out. We have locked in Northern Illinois plus 22.5 at Mississippi State. That number has since moved to 21.5. Still like it, but I hope you got it when we got it. We have locked in Oklahoma minus 5.5 versus Auburn. That one's at 6.5 now. May push over 7. Hope you got it when we handed it out. It's very important to be watching the shows when we hand these things out. Let's add 4 more. Michigan State. I love this spot for them. You may not believe this about me, but I've watched every snap of Michigan State this year. I don't even particularly know why. I watched the Youngstown State game this morning, or last night. I don't know why. I feel intimately familiar with Michigan State, and USC's coming off a cross-country road game. They've got another one on deck against Illinois next week. Everyone circled the Illinois game. Michigan State coming into the Coliseum, getting 18.5. I'm taking Michigan State plus the points. I'm taking Nebraska plus 2.5 as a best bet. I think they're going to win the game outright against Michigan. Model loves Nebraska. Syracuse plays Clemson. They're getting 17.5. I think they're going to come in under that number. So I'll take Syracuse plus 17.5. They let us down against Tennessee in week 1. They'll make it up to us. Fran Brown always does. And do you know what's happening in Memphis, Tennessee this Saturday? Well, strictly from a football perspective. Memphis is playing Arkansas. You may think to yourself, Josh, you mean in Fayetteville, right? I don't. I mean in Memphis, inexplicably. And they are getting 7.5. And do you know who Arkansas played last week? They played Ole Miss last week. Do you know who they play next week? They play a team from South Bend, Indiana. I forget the name. Notre Dame, that's who it is. And they go to Memphis in between that. So Ryan Silverfield is looking to keep his name on the radar for a lot of these jobs. And they're just good because it's Memphis. And Arkansas's rolling in there. Let down look ahead spot. Super Bowl spot for Memphis. Give me Memphis plus 7.5. We're taking Michigan State, Nebraska, Syracuse, and Memphis. Those are the 4 teams that we just added. Appreciate you guys so much. Remember, we start the Thursday show a little early. So we start at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. We'll be live. We'll be here. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you're subscribed. You guys are doing the job. I just thank you, and I ask you to continue to spread the word of mouth. Ideal world, we continue to spend $0 on marketing because you're doing the job for us, and I appreciate it more than you could ever know. For Director Bradley, Producer Jesse, I'm Josh Pate. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening, and God bless.